Hi, welcome to the My Curious Mind podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Rulo. Before we get started with this episode, I just wanted to give a disclaimer just because I know how divisive uh, politics can be. What this episode is not, it is not me attaching myself to a candidate or me attaching myself to a political party. What this episode is a way for you just to get to know, number one, about local elections, and number two, about a candidate who is running in that local election. It is nothing more, it is nothing less. And I thank Alonzo very much for giving me the time to be a part of this episode. So, without any further delay, please enjoy the show. We are live, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Appreciate you having me out here.
So this is our first time getting together, which is a big deal for the podcast. Obviously, I told you earlier, like everybody I knew. But man, like I've seen you on social media, and I'm like, this guy looks like a cool guy just to talk to. And I know you been putting in a lot of work to what you're doing right now. Right. So I just wanted to. That's why I reached out and said, hey man, let's talk. So I am what they would consider, I think, a young voter. I'm 26, so I mean, almost 10 years in the game of voting.
Right.
But when I think of like something like city council, it's something like I think my grandparents would vote on it. It's all right. Like, why is it beneficial for a 26-year-old to vote for something like city council? So I think what I want to start off is like, number one, what is it to be on city council?
So city council it's a fancy title, but overall they make the end decisions. So they work a lot of departments. They work with the city manager, the finance manager. They work with everyone to try to get things rolling. So you can think of them as people present you like, this is what we want to do, and you vote yay or nay. But by the time it gets to voting in the city, it's already predetermined. So if you had something on the Parks and Rec or an ordinance you want changed or created, they've already talked one-on-one, because legally you can't have 2 city councilmen or 3 city councilmen in the same area talking without an official meeting. So they're determining things that are going to affect you daily, what you can and can't do on your property, what's allowed in the city. They had a controversial one about sagging. So if you sag, you're fine. But that was unconstitutional, so they got rid of it.
Okay. Sagging
your pants.
Sagging your pants?
Yeah, well, they found it like, hey, that could be discriminatory, which, yeah.
Culturally, yes. Yeah.
100%. And they could have caused the lawsuits. They were very good by getting rid of that, but there was, in my opinion, a lot of things that still hinder what you can do. Okay. As far as, they just recently, last year, changed it where you can have chain link fences. So before then, you can't have chain link fences. If it was busted, broken, damaged, you can't repair it. You're kind of on the hook for a messed up fence or get a brand new one. If you want metal siding, you can't have it. If you want gravel on your already existing gravel driveway, you can't touch it up unless you do a pour-in or something that's allowed by city asphalt, you name it. There's a lot of things that are hindering because they feel they're not aesthetically beautiful. But, I mean, you and me, we're young individuals. I got a house, you're renting. If you want to fix up something, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's cheaper fixes until we can get to big boy jobs, to kind of pay for those things. But until then, you gotta bite the little bullets. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do that, and unfortunately, they have high standards and no easy fixes to the moment. You're gonna have to move somewhere else or have a dilapidated home, and I just don't want that.
Yeah. So, what was like your heart behind wanting to be on city council? I saw your post on Facebook, but I wanted to hear firsthand, like, what's your heart behind, like, hey, because you already, how old are you?
I'm 25. I'm 25. One less than you.
One less than me. Yeah. So you're young, and that's like not normally young people are getting into quote unquote politics. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just to call it what it is. But so what was like your, hey, I know I'm young, but I'm very passionate about this. This is what I want to do.
So there's several things. One, I'm an oddball. I want to outright say it. I love the paperwork. I love the legalities and figuring out, hey, like you with this podcast, I don't know this. I want to learn about me is learning firsthand. Let me fill out the paperwork. Let me go through the process. Let me be understanding in that respect. Two, I'm a bit selfish. I have a house here. I want it to do well. If I think the city's going the wrong direction, that's going to affect my finance, my pocketbook, personally on a taxpayer standpoint, but also on my house. I don't want it to depreciate. I want to sell that baby and then move downscale somehow. But I mean, honestly, I've received help from the city. I've lived here since middle school. I have very fond memories here. It's almost like, it's family to me. I don't want to lose a family member that I see is personally struggling just because I don't want to do the bare minimum. And between the bare minimums, even if I don't win, advocating for what people believe in, trying to get a say out there of what people are thinking.
Yeah. So I saw on your, like I said, on your Facebook post,
Right.
You said something about going through like a traumatic injury.
Oh yeah. So I'll put it bluntly, I'm bad at networking.
Yeah.
A bunch of my buddies do the sheet metal.
Yeah,
so I was going to meet a whole bunch of new faces, be like, hey man, we do the same thing. Can we be friends?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this was a motorbike race that we were doing this, and I was very overconfident in myself and decided to give it a go. And I blinked for half a second. I don't know what happened. My leg became like a noodle. I lifted it up and it just sagged, and I was screaming for help, and they didn't even have an ambulance coming. I got in the bed of a pickup truck, carried by a picnic table, holding a ratchet strap in one hand and a railing in the other, and we drove all the way to, I want to say it was Alton Hospital. The doctor did say it was broken, but they don't have an orthopedic, so I had to go all the way from there to Barnes. And I haven't ate in probably over 24 hours. I thought it was a barbecue, so I was just there struggling, starving. And they told me right before I was about to, end of the night, like midnight, hey, you got surgery in the morning, I'm going to get your food. And unfortunately, she got the call and said, hey, bad news, you got surgery in 3 hours, you can't eat. So went in surgery. For the first one, they had metal rods sticking in all sorts of places just to hold things together, reduce the swelling for the next surgery, which is putting in, I don't know how many rods, screws, basically just fixing my leg like it's a broken porcelain glass. It was terrible, but no, and then medical costs was stupid. It was so much more than I understood.
Yeah.
I had my house, I had utilities, I had to pay all the normal things without getting paid, and I had to go to the food pantry at my lowest moment. That was awful. I was always told that you can't fail if you go to a food pantry, if you ask for a handout, and so they were nice people. I can't say anything bad about them. I saw people that I thought looked way too comfortable there, and it broke my heart. But also, I was there, so what does that say?
Yeah. I think that was, the last point you made there. You see people that are way too comfortable there. For a lot of people, it seems like that step to get like that step from moving to, let's say, like starvation, food pantry, or even homelessness. It's like that step to better yourself is so risky that if you fail, you lose everything. You know what I mean? And for a lot of people, it's so easy to just stay kind of where you are, like to be. And
absolutely, people get comfortable. I had a conversation with I think he's a very well-known homeless man now in Collinsville. He's the one that hangs out at the corner by Birds.
Yeah.
And then he said, give me money. He starts yelling, he starts screaming. We had a long conversation, which it's hard to hear him, but I tried my best.
Yeah.
His biggest thing is he, like others, are either comfortable where they're at. He wanted to earn a living. He said he's a hustler.
Yeah.
He said, I ain't going to get no money from nobody, but he's also asking for money. He said he won't go to the food pantry because he has bad memories there. Because, again, for me, I felt ashamed. Other people, they feel comfortable. It's a whole spectrum of how people feel about using resources.
Yeah.
The problem is it's a spectrum, so there's no one solution. It's just, hey, how can we look at this in not an aggressive way? Because if you look at it an aggressive way and say, hey, I don't like these people, I don't want them here, that's not going to help anybody. You can't say like, hey, you have a kid that won't get a job and say, I don't like this, get a job, or kick him out. You know, if he's out on his own, he's screwed. You know, it's got to find that happy solution for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people miss it, and it's like, I believe we're all called to be generous, but how can you be generously like smart, if that makes sense? So it's like I believe, and I'm always my type of mentality is like, I could never be a millionaire because I give it all away before I even spend it on myself.
Right.
And I don't know why I think like that, but I'm way like, hey, I'll help somebody else and then I'll starve that day. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, how can you be generously smart about being generous? I guess it is. And I think a lot of people miss it because it's all like, you either do too much or you don't do enough. And it's like, where do you find that line? Like,
right.
Sustainable generosity. That's how.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to me, it's not even just sustainable generosity. It's we can all afford a little bit, and that all gets allocated somewhere. It's cautiously generous. Like, you know, we could be like Seattle and say, hey, when you have drug addictions, we'll provide you the Narcan and all this other stuff. Some places it's like, hey, we're going to make, what's the right word, smart infrastructure, like diamonds underneath, you know, ramps so people can't sleep there and just force the issue out of the city entirely. You can go in a lot of different ways with it. My thing is, what can we do that's not going to be a burden to the people paying for it, that's going to show real results?
Yeah.
What can we see that works and then go from there? One of these individuals, he wanted an SOS kitchen. We have an SOS kitchen. He didn't know about it. It's one of those things is you got to figure out how to make these resources for those that aren't keeping track of it, that aren't aware of it, available, but also what do they want? Because it's kind of, you can try to bring a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink it.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what are they willing to do that's not unreasonable. It's a very weird line to walk, but you got to, everybody's willing to give, but why would I give, you know, on a bottomless pit?
Yeah.
Let's make a real solution.
Yeah. So let's say you have this might be a question you might have to think about for a second. Let's say you have the key to, let's say, not fix the homeless, but to make the homelessness situation in Collinsville better. What would be like your, maybe not solution, but your idea to maybe bridge that gap between homelessness to sustainability in their own life?
So in their own life, again, my thought is you got to do baby steps. You can't hopefully run right away when you're an infant. You gotta learn the understanding. So my thing is, I've been talking with Al. I've been talking with the food pantry. I've been talking with the home. You can't understand the solution if you don't ask those that are affected by it.
Yeah.
And all of them have their own perspectives. I've talked to different religious organizations, talked to Revival Church and a couple others, because they spoke with the city about this homeless issue, because they were asking, does anyone want to be the warming center? It's one of those things is, there's a lot of ways to go about it, but you have to figure out what is sustainable for everybody. You got to say, hey, will you do this? Is this available to you? I got lost my own thought. I'll be completely honest. But no, it's one of those things is, I just feel like people are looking at this with either hatred or too much compassion, and both are in a reasonable place. Nobody wants to feel like a burden taxpayer. Nobody wants to, you know, see any human being suffer.
Yeah.
But you can't have it wherever just blind giving. If I gave you $1 million, you said you spend it, give it to a homeless man, just imagine what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
But also, you know, if I give you a place near downtown Collinsville and some of them have caused issues, I had one of them throw a whole bunch, I think it was nuts, raisins, or whatever it was, at my brand new car. It's like, I can't have that, you know, within the crossfires. You're going to leave a bad public image. So where can you put these individuals, hopefully get them the resources they need, give them those baby steps where they can start progressing their life in a good way, give them a job, give them some type of sustainability, And hopefully, like a homeowner or anybody, like a father, will take pride in the accomplishments of them, and they will too. It's like a bridge in the gap. Then hopefully they work on that bridge. They maintain that bridge.
Yeah, and I think where we lose the homeless at is like we treat them, and it's not like purposely. It's just what it is. It's sometimes like they're not a part of that community. Or in all reality, that's all they want to be is part of the community. And nobody wants to be the homeless person in the community. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if you ever heard of Alan Graham. Alan Graham is like the homeless aid guru.
Okay.
I wish there was something around the St. Louis area like he's doing. So he created a community for his village, and essentially what it is it's some of the top engineers in the country built these like little tiny homes, and they essentially were like, you know what, let's put all the homeless in one area, which sounds like a bad idea, but the way that he's leading it is in the aspect of community. Right. It's like these people are going from being chronically homeless to they're learning skills, they're learning stuff to negate that homelessness. Now it's not perfect. It's nothing. Right. Nothing will ever be the perfect solution, but it seems like it is doing. It's down in Austin, Texas, and it seems to be fixing the homeless issue in Austin, Texas, and it's based off. Hey, let's get these guys to do genuine community, and let's get these guys. Let's teach these guys tricks, skills, stuff to where they can, even if they get themselves back into this situation, they know how to be a carpenter. They know how to do stuff. They know how to sell. They know how to find public transportation to get to work and stuff like that, to be able to try to get themselves out of the situation. And it's, like I said, it's not the perfect, but it seems like he is like the guru.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, there's no perfect solution. Yeah. The first step is you gotta look at them as human beings. You know, it's what I've been told, and this is from the city themselves, is sometimes they'll pick up the homeless from downtown Collinsville and drop them off at Eastport Plaza, basically other side of town. It says it buys them a couple of days, so they have to walk back there. To me, that's not treating someone as a human. That's treating someone as garbage or piece of trash that you look as an eyesore. And some people do, but if you look at them that way, they'll look back at you as you're the aggressor, you're the bad guy, and they don't want to work with you. So first step is you got to look with compassion as an human. You know, they're human. They're the same as me. They're in a different situation. How can I get you to my point?
So transitioning like to what would be like, let's say there was a debate and they're all like, these are your running points. What would you say would be your running point for like city council? Like, what do you I guess what are you passionate about? Like, what change do you want to bring to the city of?
Right. Everything I'm running on, to me, seems common sense. People told me the city's like an HOA. They have too many rules and regulations. Business owners say the city bullies them because of this. Individuals feel that they can't do what they want. They see people in city council that can do certain things, and they don't feel like they have the same rights or availabilities as a human being. Other thing is the homeless. Again, I want to treat them with compassion and find a solution. We have a homeless task force. It's been around for a while. Is it working? We got more homeless than we did probably ever since I've been in the city for 15 years. The other thing is, I want to look at our finances. We've raised the home sales tax by 0.25%. We've raised the food sales tax by 1%. I mean, we're raising taxes to accommodate. Is that the right solution? It might be, but I also don't think that the taxpayers should be planning the city's agenda to beautify it really good. I think there might be a slow step. Maybe it's too much. Maybe it's just right, but it's one of those things we need to have a good financial steward. You know, like if you have a staff that's spending money on a credit card willy-nilly, it's like, hey, look at that. Just, let's see we're in agreement with all these purchases. Yeah.
I think one thing that like just cities and even the country in general, and kind of Trump is putting this in the limelight right now, is where does our money go? I think that's a big thing. Is there And something that we're missing is sometimes we're not necessarily open and honest about like, hey, like you guys paid this much in taxes. Here's the breakdown of like where it. So I think that's something that's like, if I vote for mayor, city council, stuff like that, it'd be like, hey, I want to know like, and maybe it's not even possible, but it's like, hey, when I pay my taxes, I want to know like, hey, this is where it go.
Correct. And again, they try to be transparent with it, but it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And it's like average Joe's like you. So like when you get the water bill, I don't know if you do or don't.
Yeah.
It went up. I think probably everywhere across the board because they found that water treatment facility needs more money. It needs more cost than they thought it would. So that cost got passed on to you as well. So your water bill went up. But if you're just looking at your water bill and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, it went up. A lot of people called the city and they were upset. Like, what's going on with my water bill? But it got passed, I want to say, in December, January, the increase in the water bill. It's stuff like that. People see the jump, but they don't know the reason.
Yeah.
There was an open discussion. It's on video. It's public record. But when you see that bill, you're not knowing all that stuff behind it. You're not doing the research. It's, hey, my thing jumped up. I'm angry. I'm pissed. They need to have reason of like, hey, we're doing this. We don't want to do this. This is the reason. Can you understand and bear with it? So it needs to be some type of reason that they're not seeing that you're not looking at public records. You're not looking at every ordinance and rule. You're just seeing the result and feeling boxed in that you can't do what you want to do.
Yeah, and obviously, like even if they did some that, I understand. Like people are still going to be pissed no matter what. If something goes up, someone's going
to. 100%.
And but yes, that open in like, hey, like this is why this has to happen.
Right.
I think that's just kind of, and it's not necessarily just Collinsville. It's like an overall thing where it's all like, here's the result of why we did it.
Right.
And if you don't ask, we're not.
No, 100%. And that's why I said it's usually the city is really good at telling you.
Yeah.
Once you get pissed off, they try to de-escalate you. They don't want anybody. They're human beings, so they're having a job they got to do. But it's, hey, the discussion. Like if you got your water bill and if it went up, a considerable amount, you would freak out. But if they like a little note, like, hey, this is a situation, it went up, the cost of water treatment facility is making us do this. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'd love to have a discussion. Something like that leaves it open and honest versus it went up. You go to McDonald's and you're like, man, it feels like it cost me a little bit more. Food sales tax went up. The city did that. But you don't know. You just get pissed off, and that turmoil builds up inside people. And I feel like they try to do some transparency, but it doesn't get conveyed the right way.
Yeah. So let's say, for instance, the food, like you said, the food sales tax went up. How is this just be not known?
Right.
So like, how does that kind of like happen? Is it something that happens city to city, or is it something that like the city's doing something that the state's doing?
Right. So I could be mistaken. There is a state, there's a county tax, and then the city. I don't believe any other cities, to my knowledge, have this. I think they call it like a luxury tax. So it's a 1% tax on top of the other taxes for your food. Because we are right off the highway, they think, oh, this is going to be mostly tourists. But I'll be mistaken. Have you ate McDonald's here in Collinsville? It costs you money too. So it affects residents.
Yeah.
But their thought process is this is a tourist tax. This is a tax that shouldn't affect you. That we're putting on top of this to fund some other projects.
Yeah. And are those projects that are supposed to be, like, are they pretty open about, like, hey, these are the projects we want to do, this is why we're doing
it? Yeah, 100%. They're honest and open with that, and they work with the Parks Department, they work with the Roads Department. There's a whole bunch of departments that go into this in a very open conversation, but it's a matter of, until I start running, I didn't know that they raised taxes. I didn't know that this stuff happened. It's just like, hey, I'm feeling the result of it. I see the state is, and I'm like, there needs to be room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. something that I would love to see as a dad of toddlers.
Okay.
I feel like we have no toddlers or something for toddlers to do. You know?
So great news. They are trying to make stuff, and I don't know if it's going to be good for toddlers. They're making different improvements. I believe they're going to do a handicap accessible park.
Okay.
And that might be something that, people with special needs, toddlers might be able to use it. I don't know. But again, they're making real strides to try to do it so that way everyone feels included.
Yeah.
My only thing is how fast we're going to try. I want your kids to enjoy everything, but are we going to put them on the big boy parks, or are we going to let them grow up to it?
Yeah, I mean something like we have to drive to Maryville to go to a Tyler Safe Park. Obviously I want to go. Maryville's not far away.
No.
Why go to Maryville if I have one?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that's a great point. But again, that stuff takes a lot of thought and planning. And again, I give our parks department, I think a little bit people don't like me because the criticism I have of them, but I love them. Again, I've used the parks before it was even in the parks department. They work hard. Little Beach Farms wasn't even in the parks department. It was privately owned. I love those places as a kid. It's just how we spend the money. It's like, you could have the nicest TV, the nicest computer, the nicest everything, but we pay for it. I should be a little critical of saying, how are we funding this? How fast are we going to pay this? Are we doing this on layaway? I just want to be, a good steward of money and say, hey, are we watching how we're spending it? Yeah. And I think parks,
Parks Department is super important for the main reason, and especially keeping them safe, keeping them clean, keeping them stuff. Because it's like if we can keep kids active, if we can keep kids, and obviously you can't I can't parent someone else's kid at a parent, but if there's a clear rule establishment of hey, here's parks, here's how we keep them better, I think it just makes the city better. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. I think parks, the Italian Fest, a lot of the things we do as a city creates a deep sense of community. You're a football coach, go K-Hawks. We have community in the smallest things, such as a matter of, K-Hawks might be the coolest team. Should we get a $10 million, helmets just if we're doing that? It's well, let's look at what we're doing.
And if we want to talk about it, we can. We'll take $2 million. But I see what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Let's put it in perspective. I love the parks and recreation. Everybody knows how far they extend. The Collins House at the beginning of downtown Collinsville?
Yes, yeah.
So that, as well as a couple other things, they're trying to beautify the entrance to downtown Collinsville, moving that building to the location, the surrounding area, beautifying it, buying 2 properties and working on that, leveling one, putting the Collins House there, and the other one's still up. It's dilapidated, looks horrendous, honestly. People question it, why it's there all the time. That, and its entirety project, cost $2.3 million. The Collins House was $250,000 to put there, fix up all that good stuff. The surrounding area, raising the building, everything in total was $2.3 million. It's I love our parks department. I love going on the side of a kid. I don't think we should be spending $2.3 million for that little section. Did we get the best bang of it? Do you feel like you as a father and your kids are going to enjoy that park to its fullest?
Yeah. So with the departments, and I think you might have said this earlier, but just re-upping to make sure I fully understand. So as city council, is it these departments go through you, and then you guys go through you guys vote on it, and then the mayor gets the final say, or is it kind of go through the logistics of the city, where the city council line within the mayor and stuff?
Easy question. So the city works in tandem with departments. It's an open conversation back and forth. They might call any one of them and just have an open dialogue. And then again, the city council members have a very interesting way of getting an agreement without breaking the rules. So I can do this. I can talk to you if you're a city council member, I'm a city council member. We can talk one-on-one. Then you can talk one-on-one to another person. That's okay. We all get an agreement. and then we know what's going to be presented, and we're in agreement that yay or nay. You might ask questions about like, oh, I've never heard that term or that word, but they already know what's going to happen. As far as the mayor, he is a glorified city council member. He leads the meetings. He gets paid slightly more. I think it's about 20% if you want to do the actual number, maybe 25%. Gets paid slightly more to lead the meeting. He is the guy that does the officiating for, police officers ranking up, fire departments, their members ranking up. He is just a leader of the meetings, a official that just basically does ceremonies. Yeah. But he's also a vote, just like any one of us. So there's a first, there's a second, and then there's a vote. If there's no first, there's no second, there's no vote, but they've already gone to that point where so anything that comes up there should have a first and a second, and then a vote.
Yeah. So is his vote like the, I wouldn't say the most important, but is it like the top vote? Like he has to,
no, first? It's all equal. So again, if there was 3 votes to say nay to something, it doesn't happen. Okay. But realistically, if it's got to the city council, it's either bringing up something that they want to talk about, which is rare, or it's, hey, how are we voting on this? And there's already been agreement. They might have discussion,
yeah,
but it's like this podcast. I already said I was going to be here. I'm here. We're talking.
Yeah.
There might be a discussion, but we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. So, so when people vote for city council, is it like is it just one representative? Because I know you're
right.
campaigning, and
right.
Are you trying like what's the is there like a vote for one, or is it like, hey, like we got to get, like how does that work? Do they kick people out? Is there terms, stuff like that?
So this one's a rather interesting one. So typically, like the presidential right, there's only one president, there's only one vote. This one, there's 2 seats available. It made it interesting because one individual stepped down. He's not running. His seat is available. There's an incumbent. She's already a councilwoman. Her seat is up for this grab. So if she could lose it, she can keep it. She's running again. So you as a voter get a vote up to 2 times for 2 different individuals that you want in there. You can vote for someone that you really like and someone you kind of like. I'm hoping to be someone that everyone really likes, but realistically, I got some tough competitions. I'm going against a pastor, a lady that's incumbent. She has some controversy, but I think her heart's in the right place in some regards. Again, I'm going against a guy that has 25 years in city code enforcement. They're a little bit, not viewed great by residents, but nobody that does their job is going to be viewed well if it affects your everyday life and finances. So it's a tricky race. I hope I'm a contender, but voters can vote up to 2 times. For 4 people, 2 people get to take a seat.
Okay. And so, in like terms. So let's say you get in. Is that something that you have to step down from, or is it something like you go up for re-election in 4 years?
Yeah. So they get to do a re-election every 4 years. Okay. So you're golden. You can step down at any point. It's like anything. You can leave your job and then say this, or you could do the awful thing and just not show up to the meeting and still get paid. They might vote you off. But realistically, anyone that puts this much effort, that would be absurd to me.
Yeah.
But they can run as many times. So like president, you only get 2 terms.
Yeah.
This one, you could do it from when you're 18 to you're 100 if you really wanted to. Honestly, I hope I don't got to do that long. I hope other people, if I get in, have the same drive as me and say, hey, I want what you want. Cool. Pass the buck to the next guy. You're good. But it's a hell of a ride.
Yeah. So if you get elected city council, is that like now your full-time job, or do you do other things and then this is like an on top of
right.
as well?
So anyone, from my understanding, that's run for city council, I don't think anyone made it a full-time job. It's really 2 meetings a month, really. It's about an hour, hour and a half. It's a lot of contacting and communication in between those meetings, of talking to city officials, talking to residents, and there's occasional, floats and, participating in citywide events, but it's like the most part-time job that makes the biggest difference. So you gotta look at it as someone that works 3 hours a month in official capacity as far as the meeting, and then the little side stuff on top of that, which it's probably going to amount to 15, 20 hours. So for me, if you can't work 25 hours on the side a month, that would be crazy to me. I don't have a job that full time, but the last one stepped down is a lawyer. His law firm got so big that he doesn't need to step down. He needs that extra time for his law firm. We have one that's a businesswoman. We have almost everyone in the council has another profession. This isn't their full-time gig, but I think everyone is passionate because it affects them. Yeah. In some ways in a business sense, sometimes as a civilian sense. But it's easily a part-time gig.
I got you. Yeah. So I'm sure these meetings are like free to the public to go to, but is it? So let's say I'm obviously I'm a resident of Collinsville, and
right.
I want to try to get something passed to, let's say I don't like trees being in my backyard. Let's do something stupid, but let's say I want to vote to get trees out of everybody's backyard. What would I have to do to get that passed through and to City Council? To be just like, hey, this is something I want, now you vote on it, or would I have to like go to community members and like get enough people to say we don't want trees in our backyard?
I mean, there's a number of ways you can take it. All the city council members have an extension, so during normal business times, again, they're working individuals, so probably leave them a voicemail. I'll try to get back to you. But if that doesn't work, you can go to the meeting. There's potential to discuss an issue. If the public wants to discuss an issue, let's say there's already a thing about discussion about trees coming up. Like, we don't want these trees in our city, this city, you know. Let's discuss this. They'll ask, does anyone in the public want to speak about this? You can get up there, have your 3 minutes apiece, follow the rules, and maybe something comes from that. If you contact them, you can do that route. You can contact the city manager, bring it to his attention, or bring it to the council. That's his job. Or you can go to the meeting. They have a very ending of the meeting where it's like new business, something the good of Collinsville, concerns, whatever. You can voice your opinion. And that forces all the people from the city council, the manager, to hear you in a professional sense. And everything's being recorded, so it's hard to deny, like, I didn't hear that, la, 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 you're on camera.
Yeah. That makes sense. And so it's not something like I would have to get 500 signatures.
Oh, you can, but again, it's one of those things it's just which route you want to do. If you do 500 signatures, like, look how cool I am. People care what I think. You can get rid of these trees. These trees are up to no good. Yeah. Or you can go to City Hall and go any number of ways, but realistically, again, everyone wants the best, so if you have a perspective that's not being shared or not acknowledge it, I just say fight like hell and then see where it goes.
Yeah, and for the people listening, I do love trees. I just literally looked at the tree in my backyard.
A lot of my friends are trees. I got trees in my backyard as well.
Yeah. I was just for any of the people like, hey, he hates trees. I don't hate trees. It was just an example.
I've never hugged a tree, but like I got them at close proximity.
Yeah. So something that when I've just been looking at like kind of the city council race,
right.
Another one of the other contestants I know as well, and I'm seeing him on Facebook, but is like you have to meet people. Like if you want to, I really think if you want to be a successful pastor, a successful coach, a successful anything, but if you want to get voted for city council, you have to meet people. What's kind of something that has been like your maybe tip sheet, or like, hey, like what have you been doing to like go and meet people? I know we've talked a little bit about it, but just kind of be like, as 25 years old, like you, like you're still young, so that you may not have met, you haven't met everybody in Collinsville. No. There's 30,000 people in Dallas, or a little bit under 30,000 people in Dallas. So what have you been doing to like meet the people and listen maybe to their concerns, or just have them get to know you?
So when I started this, I didn't know these numbers. Collinsville has under 25,000 people. Only about 3,000 are about expected to vote for this race, and that's a high number. The dilemma is getting an idea of what they want, in my opinion. That's my dilemma. So what I did, not knowing those numbers, but just knocking. You know, you have to get a petition to actually, like if you want about the trees, to actually run, you have to get a petition. The minimum number of people on that petition you have to have as valid signatures is 25 people. I was worried that I might get caught like, hey, you don't have enough, this isn't correct, because they can mark them off if they're not registered, different address, outside the city lines, stuff like that. So I knocked on a hell of a lot of doors. I went to, I want to say almost 140 people and asked them, hey, what's your concern? Because I've had people say, hey, I'm not signing your petition unless I know what you care about. I'm like, I don't know what I care about except I love Collinsville. What matters to you? And I've heard the same things from business owners, organizations, and individuals. Is I feel like the city is restraining my rights as an individual. I see the homeless. I think it's a problem. I didn't know how to deal with that, but I've learned that hatred's not the right way. It's got to be compassion. And I heard people saying, hey, my bill went up. This went up. I feel like Collinsville's raising stuff. People have reasonable grievances. And to me, it's reaching out. I do the Facebook post, not just to keep you informed, but like engage with me. I want to care about you. If I'm dead wrong with what I'm thinking, tell me. So if I do get in that position, I'm not running on that. I don't want to go against what you think.
Yeah.
I want to knock on the door and say, hey, how can I make your day better? At the end of the day, nobody wants to do their job incorrectly. You know, you wouldn't want to coach the team on, you know, let's say today's, what's the big day? Oh, Super Bowl. I forgot about that big day. Nobody wants to see the coach be the reason the team loses.
Yeah.
I see the city as a great team. I want to lead them to success, but I don't know how they play. I don't know how they want to participate. You guys got to tell me how you want this team to go.
Awesome. So you just went, old fashioned of, hey, I got to knock on doors.
Oh, 100%. And the craziest thing is, as I knocked on doors, I met people. I met people from the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. In my opinion, they have no business in a local election, but they exist.
Yeah.
There's endorsements get thrown out. They have individuals that help fund different candidates. They have ways to help fundraisers. It's a very, what's the right word? They act in the shadows to make sure their guy gets in. My thing is, I told both sides, I don't want to be your guy. My thing is, this is the people, what they care about. Social issues don't play. Nobody's going to ask you about abortion. Nobody's going to ask you about your guns. This is the city. They deal with taxes, ordinances, rules, things that they can reasonably control. Social issues on a much grander scale, state, federal. So my thing is, knock on doors, what you care about. Reach people on Facebook. Even if it annoys someone, I apologize. What do you care about? I'm going to hound you until you tell me.
Yeah.
And if you're going to vote for me, awesome. But if you're not going to vote for me, still tell me what you care about. Because people that did vote for me, you're one of the people that I'm representing at the end of the day.
If you win, yeah. That's something that I think is hard to realize. Is like, hey, I'm representing the people that voted for me, but I'm also representing people that are not.
100%. Yeah, so it's there's two, like the homeless issue. Nobody likes the homeless in the situation they are right there. You got one side that wants them to give them so much compassion that they think, some people reasonably think, they'll bankrupt the city. The other side sees them as such an eyesore, they want them gone from existence. There's got to be a happy solution. Both people don't like the homeless there. How can we help them with compassion? Because both sides are such polars. What's a happy middle?
Yeah. So, I mean, and even like this podcast would never happen if you didn't just ask me to be your friend on Facebook.
100%. That's what I said. I know a lot of people. Some people's like, hey, stop friending me. What are you standing on? I don't know you. Who are you?
Yeah.
Again, but it's one of those things. I've tried a lot of methods because I don't have huge resources. You look at the signs. If you see mine, I appreciate it. But mine's probably like 1/10 the size of theirs.
Yeah.
I didn't do a fundraiser. I'm planning on making some posts and then hopefully an event with the food pantry saying if you want to give it to me, give it to them instead. I don't want your money. At the end of the day, if I lose this election, which I hope I don't, but if I do, I'm going to fight like hell. I want there to be a acknowledgement about the issues that people care about, which I reasonably share those acknowledgements, and that a good cause is accomplished. The food pantry needs a lot of recognition. I think people know it exists, but people don't know how it affects people. People don't know the average Joes go for handout too on hard times. It's not just everyone trying to suckle the tit of whoever's giving out the most money.
Yeah. So let's dive into kind of the food pantry, because I mean it affected your life when you needed
100%.
it. So let's kind of like, so who is the, because in my head it's all like, if like when I think of food pantry I think of kind of like a homeless shelter but just for food.
Right.
And I don't think that is what it is, but just kind of dive into, because I know you were there this weekend. Dive into the food pantry. Like, how do they help the city in the grand scheme of everything?
So they have a lot of things. So when you see the homeless downtown Collinsville, they have a beautiful thing, which I spent the better part of, I want to say, 3-4 hours making these little packages for the homeless. It's got protein, it's got fruits, it's got water, it's got a little bit of snacks, but it's a little grab-and-go bag of like, hey, I'm hungry, I need a meal. If these individuals didn't have that, I mean, they're going to start getting, I don't want to see a starving man at his, cornered up, where he's just needing food, breaking in your house, or wherever. That's a good deterrent from that. They have moments where you can go in there, they'll have an individual help you shop. So what I did was I had an individual help me shop. They helped me get the items I need to reasonably make it for a couple weeks, because I didn't have the money for that. I had enough money for gas and enough money. That was it. I mean, I was dead broke. They have a program, I want to say it wrong, but it's something, Tote Me Home, I believe, something like that, for kids that are in abusive households or low-income households. So the school provides lunch now, if you didn't know, for kids. So no kid's going to go hungry at school. But on the weekend, the school's not there. This program, if some type of resource officer, teacher, someone says, hey, this kid, he looks a little hungry, he looks like he needs something, they'll package him something and they'll deliver to the kid. There's so many resources that the food pantry has. That's an unbelievable use to the community. I'm not even just saying it in a philanthropist kind of way, but it prevents danger. I mean, whenever a homeless man's hungry, I don't want him breaking my house. If a kid's going to be in a bad situation and he's hungry, I don't want him thinking that he has to resort to crime or something to get something for his belly. I don't want to see a kid die from malnutrition either. They're doing wondrous things for this community.
I think something as well. Our church started doing it as well. Is the blessing boxes.
Absolutely.
And it's the concept of it's like it's not as resourceful as I'd say is the food pantry, just
right.
because it's less. But it's like, hey, if you need a meal, like blessing boxes around the community. And I think there should be like an app of like, hey, if you're hungry, these are the places you can go to.
Right. No, and I mean,
to eat.
In the way I look at them as, it is such a beautiful thing that the community can say, hey, we're donating this. If you're hungry, come by and get it. It shows that people care about other people in this community, and that's, to me, a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And so, where would be? Is there one food pantry, or is there multiple food pantries?
So there's one food pantry. It's by the Walmart. They used to have an old building. I think this one's on Mall Street, I believe. But again, you walk in there. They have certain hours. You ring the doorbell. I mean, heck, I was working on Saturday. That's not one of the normal hours. We had a homeless gentleman walk by. He got situated. They will make sure that you get taken care of if you need the help. They are here for the people.
Yeah. Are they 100% like donation based, or
right.
What's that?
Yeah, so they are donation based. They hold fundraisers for themselves. They're a 503c1 group, which a fancy word for saying they're not for profit. They will not make a penny off the people. Everything that is given out is been done without any profits on their side. They might have payroll, but it's not. Nobody's making a fortune.
Yeah. Which is like, I don't want to say it's how it should be, but I think a lot of people go into philanthropy, one, to make one may kind of fill their egos, but to like get rich off of a very chronic situation, a very devastating situation. And I'm the type of guy that and I tell my buddies this, or not just my buddies, but people in life. I have a podcast. It's not huge at all.
Oh no, but hey, I respect it.
Oh yeah, but it's something that I started for me. And something that I love is when I get a message from a kid or from a friend or from even I had one last week of one of my players' families, and they're like, "Hey, how do we start this?" And it's like, okay, I have something that I've made very minimal money off of from whatever it is, merch, and it's not from lack of trying. I'll hustle to try to make an extra buck to help my family with this, but the impact of I've helped helping people start their journey through this. And the thing is, if their podcast gets bigger than mine, like a lot of people don't want to see people win. I'm the type of guy. If I can help you start something and you're doing better than me, that's flipping awesome. Let me know how I can do better, even though I helped you start it. I can still learn from you.
Listen, I 100% understand it. Again, I'm union, so I went through an apprenticeship. Someone taught me whenever I know shit all. I mean, I was bumping nose. I never held a power drill or anything, and I go from that to now I'm the guy showing people like, hey, bud, let me help you. There's a joy, a beauty in trying to show someone else your craft. One, you get to shoot the shit with someone that cares about what you care about.
Yeah.
But also you can help someone start and then see the fruits of their labor, and it feels like your own. It's a beautiful process, and what you're doing is awesome. You're a school teacher that's a coach, and you're doing a podcast. Get out of here. I mean, I'm doing this. I think this is cool, but there's a bridge here. You just decide to go completely off the rails. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It stemmed off of like I told you, I'm curious,
I love it,
and I think that especially working at a school, I think our education system kind of negates curiosity and creativity when, especially with holding kids to a standardized testing, hey, we need you here because this is how it makes our school look. And so maybe if we could get away from that and get more hey, let's start having kids ask questions. Let's start having kids use their creative minds, No, I had a kid show me how to start a website. You know what I mean? It was a kid in my 7th grade class. I'm like, how do you do that? He's like, well, this is how you do it. And
it's crazy how smart these kids are. I mean, I'm excited. I know you should probably be excited about that CABC program.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I remember doing that in high school. I thought it was a cool thing. I was an honor roll student, and they kept asking me for money, participators. No, I don't want this. I told my mom I wish it would stop, spamming us at the house. I was more excited to go welding. I'm like, man, this is going to be fun. I'll have a great new welding.
Yeah, I was very, so that was some stuff in high school that made me want to go to school.
Right.
But I was an athlete, and it was and I think they did it all within hey, here's your goals, here's where you have to go. I just wish there was a way with the education system, you could take those types of classes and still fulfill NCAA requirements to be able to go play sports. Because there were some classes that I didn't get to do welding. I didn't get to do. I had to intern in a wood shop to be in woods, so I wasn't getting a credit, but I was still building the bench, or I was still building the shelf, and it was 100% because it didn't fulfill NCAA requirements, which I understand. The NCAA is trying to get you to not necessarily go pro, but they're trying to get you to, even if you don't do things within sports, you can still own a business, you can still do stuff. But at the same time, it's hey, I have to go to a flipping AP whatever class, stuff that I'm never going to use in my life, when I could be learning how to build stuff within woodworking and carpentry, and I could this could be something that could help me do a side gig to be like, hey, this isn't my job, but I know how to do this, so I can make extra money to help out my family. So I think it's stuff like that like that's obviously a global level,
Right?
but
No,
but it's something that can help me in everyday life.
I think the council's supposed to help with that to a degree, but again, it's one of those things. I basically told mine, like, I don't care when I take something. I was going to go into the Navy until my grandfather got really badly sick, and I was like, oh, we wait until he dies and just stay here, or do we go off and just, hear about one day by a letter?
Yeah.
So I decided to stay here, and I had shit all to my name. I took AP classes because I got bored.
Yeah.
That's how smart kid I was, And I took Wellings, I enjoyed it, and then it blossomed in an unusual way of me joining the union and now chasing this for no reason but the betterment of others.
Yeah. So are you? Is that your full time job?
Right?
Is it welding or what? What do you do for a full time job?
I'm a sheet metal worker from Local 268. So what I'm doing right now is working out at Roxana, Phillips 66 plant, refinery, whatever you want to call it. I help fabricate whatever they need right now. So if they need a bump switch so you don't pump off a unit, or if you need some lubricator tanks, stainless, I'm the guy. But on the flip side of the coin, it's dangerous as gross work. I gotta wear a monitor that it starts beeping if I get too close to deadly chemical levels of get out of here now. I've been told that the blast radius of that place is close to 10 miles. So it's like, I'm around constant danger, but it's what I love. If I know a guy that loves computers, do computers. Chase what you love, and everything works out where it does it.
Yeah. So 25 years old. Did you think 5 years ago that you would be getting into like running as a city official?
No.
Or anything? So,
no, I watch YouTube videos. I'm like, these guys are brave. That's scary. I don't want people doing that. I see videos of what do you call it? At the time, there was that guy that flashed his male appendage. And I'm like, I don't want to get part of any of those kind of scandals. They make politicians seem crummy. And then you have at least whether you love or hate Trump, they had the whole thing. Wherever I saw this guy on a debate, I'm like, oh, they're mean. I don't want to have anyone bully me. And I get to this race, I've had people, say awful things, do awful things. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it enough? I'm willing to put in the work and the effort, regardless of the abuse. At least my apprenticeship taught me to have thick skin. But people can be mean. I would never. I can vote the way I want and think the way I want, but I didn't want to put it on a public stage unless I thought it was important enough.
Yeah. So what was like your final this is this is it, I gotta run. What was that I have to at least try?
Right. So it was purely good circumstance on me. My job was unfortunately, I think 10 or 11 people got let go because we had a bunch of contracts and people didn't know how the presidential election was going to go. It was a very dicey one, Trump or Kamala. Nobody knew the answer. It was speculation. So contractors were holding out on projects. They had to let people go. I had about 2 weeks to myself. I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I really wanted to make a storage container home. The city told me they're anti-metal. No way, no how. This was about a year or two ago, but it just kept ruining me. I got a little irritated. So I'm like, let's see how hard this process is. Let's be mayor. Apparently, the race for mayor was in Oklahoma, Collinsville, different Collinsville. So I'm like, okay, next step. Let's be a councilman. Same vote, apparently.
Yeah.
So I started running for that. I'm like, okay, someone stepped down. There's someone that has little controversy, whether you love or hate her. I can understand the controversy and the residents of the end of the day who matters. So if they have a contention, I have a contention. So I'm like, there's 2 people, 2 seats available. There's a good chance for me to run. Let's just fucking, go at it, get the ideas we want to do, and say, hey, I'm going to represent you. If I get in, I can do this. I guarantee it. My English teacher said I'm not articulate. I think I proved him wrong a little bit. But let's try my best right here. And if you like what I'm saying, vote for me. If not, I'm going to raise a good amount of concern about my issues. Because these are issues that have been kind of stuffed down and not voiced. I've heard all sorts of horror stories, and I didn't believe it. So I got into politics again. I was told by a pastor that the Holy Spirit compelled him to confront me at church. He had a contention with me being there. I've been threatened outside of buildings. I've been called every awful name you can think of. And keep in mind, these ideas are the ideas of the residents. It's not just my own. I'm trying to go at this with compassion and kindness, so people have a contention with that. And to me, that's fine. You can believe whatever you want to believe. That shows how dicey. So if you want to do it, have at it.
Yeah.
But it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, no, and it's sad to think that and it's all based off and this is the thing that politics just drives me crazy because I'm like if there is a moderate in the middle individual, it's me.
Right.
I'm like you, like I just want to hear people's story and like I was raised different than you. I was raised different. Like my circumstances are different than everybody. So
100%.
So it's like I genuinely love to learn about people and I like to lead with compassion because like even though what you're going through may not like if I went through that it may not affect me but it affects you. So like I want to care enough to know. And so I hate that politics is like it's one way or another. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
It's a split thing, and I think I want to live in a country where it's like like let's say I'm a diehard liberal.
Yeah.
Like I want to live in a country where I could become conservative because like I care so much about, especially the progressive movement. It's like if you're progressive, you should be so open-minded that it's like, you know what, that conservative guy, like I understand, like you know where it is, and it's like I get that, but I think it's like we've lost that, and it's more like, hey, you're either hard left or hard right, and there's no middle.
I'll be honest, getting petition signatures was about the scariest, hardest thing I can do. Even getting threatened getting told the Holy Spirit doesn't want me at church. All those things, not as scary as knowing every door is going to the same question. Are you Democrat or you Republican? And I have to explain to them that this is a nonpartisan race, that I'm going with your best interest in mind, what matters to you. Because every time you're going to get the same question, and no one's friendly about it. They're friendly right afterwards and once you have that understanding, but it's like running head first into a brick wall at every door and asking them, what do you care about?
Yeah. And it's like, and I think like, and this is where I think the voter has the most power. Okay, because in the state of Illinois, for the last, I would dare to say, 10 elections, it's been one. It's been one way, and my fact, like that's not a fact. It's just me thinking.
Oh, yeah.
But at least since I've been voting, I've had the opportunity to vote in 3 elections. It's been one way. So within the Democratic or Republican side of things.
Right.
So unless regardless of my vote, one way or another, it's going to be, in at least the state of Illinois, it's going to be one way. Now, this year it was close. It was probably, I think it's the closest it's ever been for a long time, but it's still one way or another. But locally, like you said, 3,000 people plan on voting out of the 25,000 people town. You know what I mean? That, on a scale, my vote matters so much more locally than it does local, or nationally. Right. So I think these are the type of elections that young people need to know about. And they don't.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'll put it this way: I don't know if it matters more, but I think this is the one you have the most influence. So if I'm expecting only 3,000 people to vote on 4 people, and it's going to come down to it's either going to be a landslide or a wire. I don't know which one it will be, to be honest. There's no easy way to know that right now. But your percentage of what you affect is massive in this race versus the presidential. If you vote for that one, at the end of the day, you're a drop in the bucket. There's a million other people. You got to fight that. Here, 3,000. I mean, some races for states come down to 1,000 votes. Here, I've heard some people it comes down to 20 to 30 votes. So really, your vote makes a huge difference. And my goal is I want to win it. I want to earn it. But I got to be educated. And my biggest hurdle right now is people want to vote for their friends.
Yeah.
It's do you care about what your friend has to say? What does your friend want to do? I've had an individual, another candidate, I'm not going to say who, knock on a door, ask me to take down my sign so she could put up their sign and said, "Aren't we friends? Aren't you going to vote for me?" And I get it, it's a small town, but it's what happens, who gets in, is going to affect you directly.
Yeah.
If you don't like what they want to do, that you're going against your own interests.
Yeah. And there's stuff obviously nationally that affects what we do, but at the same time, and this is what I try to tell people with this election. I'm all like, hey, like obviously who runs the country matters, but
Right.
all that they can do is, and obviously you could correct me if I'm wrong. They can put stuff into practice of like, hey, this is a yes or no, and then it goes to the states, and then
Right.
the states can at the same time. The state can do stuff, and it's like, hey, this is a yes or no, and then it goes to the counties, and then the counties can go, hey, this is what you can do, yes or no, and then it goes to the cities. And so I feel like where you like you said, it's stuff that you like the 1% tax on food, like that affects my more everyday life more than whether or not the declassified files got.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
I wonder who did JFK, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day, there's so many things, and sometimes they make rules that they don't realize it's going to cause an issue. Again, the sagging rule, that was a lawsuit waiting to happen when, I'll say, Donna Green and David Jerome got in there. David Jerome mentioned that was something he was going to take care of. He did, and that saved the city a boatload of money, if you ask me, in lawsuits. But they have this, the rules and ordinances as far as properties, and they're targeting landlords. I get it. People don't like them. They're a big contention in the city. But the city, do they go too far? They had a SLAPP lawsuit, and they were in the wrong. They didn't have to pay money, but if they were, in my opinion, enough in the wrong that they had to pay money, where they're going to get the money from? They have to get it somewhere, so something has to rise, and you have to foot the bill for the city's mistake. Nobody wants to pay for someone screwing up.
So, man, I appreciate you coming on. Like,
100%.
It was, I feel like this was a good conversation, and I just want to end this with any of your last remarks about why. And it's going to sound dramatic. I don't want it to sound dramatic.
Oh yeah, let me be really dramatic.
Why Alonzo Skipper? Like why you? You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't even think it's a why me. It's why my ideas. Do you think that Collinsville is better off now than it was 10 years ago? Do you think there's 2 seats available? Who do you think is the right individual? Is it right because they're your friend? Is it right because you know them? Or is it right because I'm fighting like hell for you? There are certain things that need to be addressed. Certain people have contentions. Some people have they have bad outlooks because of whatever happened, the way their business looks appearancely wise. I get it. People have contentions. Vote because of the policies. Vote because of the individual. Do your research. I mean, honestly, I hope people have compassion in their heart. We're all working hard. I don't have any hard feelings for any candidate. I want to win, but at the end of the day, we're humans, and I think we're all trying to do the best for the city. If not, I might misread somebody, but I think everyone's good individuals. We just all get stressed out.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on and explaining the whole why we should vote city council. Because I mean, besides what I've seen on Facebook and besides like me and you talking, like this is something like I'd have been like, psh, like let me know when the next president.
Yeah, no kidding.
So. And I guess we could talk. I know I act like we're going to end, but this is something that just came to my brain.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you think we can advertise these elections more? Because they are important.
Right. No, I think people forget about them. It's one of those things that I think we do a pretty good chance of advertising them ourselves. Once we're allowed to do signs, for me, it's 90 days out in my particular election from the actual election. You'll start seeing our signs. You'll start seeing us bug you on Facebook. You'll see something to indicate it's coming up. It's just a matter of, I don't think it's a great answer. How do we get the voter turnout? It's people like you. I mean, like, at the end of the day, you have really big things to do. Presidential feels weight. This doesn't. There's a lot of candidates. There's people for the school board. There's people for city council. There's people for the library. There is people for the assessor's office, township office.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be about 15, 20 people on that ballot. How are you going to decide for all of it? It's a big, big thing to take, and it's just try to pick one thing that you think is important to you right now, get educated on it, and then hopefully you can pick the individual you think is going to best represent you.
Yeah. And I think it's super important for like young families because like this is a conversation like me and my wife are having right now. It's like, hey, our kids are almost they're 2.5, so they're going to be 3. Like we got to start thinking about school. Where do we want to put roots down so that where our kids are to go elementary, middle school, high school? Is it Collinsville? Is it somewhere else?
Again, I'm biased. I love Collinsville. If you're going to go anything in trades, I mean, your answer is easy. It's Collinsville. As far as the sports, again, when I grew up there, it was tough for us to be even considered a team, but I've heard they made strides. I take pride in Collinsville, even more losing. Again, Collinsville's a great city for a family. It just needs a little bit of polishing, and I feel like people are trying to polish hard enough that it starts to leave a scratch, and we got to just be careful how we polish.
Yeah. But I'm hoping the best for you, man. And I appreciate you coming on, and literally within a couple days of getting a message saying, "Hey."
No, I'm sorry that I had to meet with so many people again. This thing gets so away from me. I'm like, I have to schedule it. I got you my phone as a podcast guy. I mean, it's the coolest thing I got. Like, I got a guy on the podcast, but I mean, it's a lot of work. Again, a lot of people are rooting me on. I mean, obviously my parents, they're biased. And then I got people from the fire department. I got cops. I got business owners. I mean, I got people reaching out to my phone. It's like, who are you? I'm a pastor. I'm like, I didn't know you guys cared about this stuff.
Well, I also think this is important, especially because like this is a like I have ties to like other cities, but this is a local essentially a local business. Like it's not very profitable, but but you know what I mean.
Bleeding red in some areas.
But it's something that somebody in the city's doing and trying to make something. So even like it's like in the grand scheme of things, out of the 80 to 90 people that may listen to this or more, or hopefully more. Hopefully this explodes and is a 10,000 listen episode.
I might accidentally help you with that, but let's see.
But even like this is something for you that actually like the gain of polarization or like it might go up minimally. So the fact that you would be like, hey, I'll do it. Like it.
Well, yeah. Well, I get your perspective. I mean, this was the best thing for me. I get your perspective. It's 100%. This is someone told me like I don't know how this works. I want to know how it works.
Yeah.
I can fill you in. The job I'm going for, at the end of the day, it is a job. It's a position that gets paid. It's something that's meant to educate. It's meant to do the best will for the citizens. If you don't have those in mind, you might not be right for the job. In my opinion, I could be mistaken, but I'll make a post going, "Oops, my bad."
Yeah. And the fact that like you're all like, "Hey, I'm." Before we started, you're like, "Dude, I'm a big me. I'm not going to try to be anybody fake." Like
100%.
And I think the transparency. I think when people get into politics, they lose their transparency, and they put on the backpack of a political party, and they lose who they are. And you're like, dude, I just want to be.
And that breaks my heart. To be honest, again, I wish I had. Again, I've turned down certain things that would help me immensely. I could get money. I could do fundraising. That doesn't seem to me. Again, I grew up. You spend what you have. You do what you do. You play financially smart. Don't ask for handouts. So everything I've been doing is my own money. So if you see my sign, I take pride in that, no matter how small it is. It's a tenth the size, but it's speaks wonders to me. I bought it from the sketchiest website at all. They gave me the metal stakes before the actual sign. So I was like, oh no, they scammed me. But then they came and I'm like, oh no, they're so small. I'm like, I'm going to take pride. I get it right here. I got it right here. And you see those big signs. I mean, hey, they earned it. They got it in a different regard. I respect that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do it my way, even if it hurts my campaign. It keeps me who I am.
And I've said this. I'd rather lose the right way than win the wrong way. And I think that's the thing you're doing. And so, not saying that the other candidates are doing it the wrong way.
No,
whatsoever. But it's something to, like, at the end of the day, win or lose, you can go to bed tonight knowing that, like, hey, I did it.
Oh no! At the end of the day, is I'm a competitive guy. I'm going to try to win, but I'm fighting with an agenda on the same time of, if they don't let me win, they still get to hear the ideas that people care about. I get to put a shout out for the food pantry. Someone that did me a lot of good, I can finally give them a little bit of recognition they deserve. I can do things, win or lose, that forces the other sides to acknowledge, which to me is the best opportunity I can ask for as an individual.
Yeah, and hopefully through this, man, and so, like, you're going into city councilman, but or going into to be a city councilman, and it's like, hey, let's join this podcast. But now, like, I gotta contact on my phone to be like, hey, I know this guy.
Hey, and if I get in, you got an extension, and I'll be honest, every candidate wants to do a little bit different. I gave up my personal number. You can find me there. I'll give out my address if I didn't feel like I was told by too many people. Don't do that. Yeah. But I mean, you're welcome to text, call, whatever. I mean, I'll even join your podcast, 618-910-9403. Let me know if there's something you care about. I'm a direct line. If I get in, there you go. I might not answer every call, but if you text me, I guarantee you it's going to be addressed. Yeah. I'll do it in a timely manner. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, and I liked how, like, the first, because it could have been really easy to, like, the first interaction of, like, hey, why is this guy messaging me about a podcast? And you're like, hey, text my number. Like, let's set this up. Let's get this going.
100%. Yeah.
And it wasn't, and like, you did a little background research of, like, your YouTube, like my YouTube page, and it was like, hey, like, I understand you're growing. Like, it's like
what was my? You said even the podcast on the Spotify. I'm like, that's awesome. I don't understand any of this. Even if you had 5 viewers, there you go. I'm gonna try to help you the best I can.
Yeah. And, but I even, like, talking with some local people about, like, I said, hey, I'm gonna have this guy on. Like, what do you know about him? I don't know about him. So they're like, I'm super excited to listen because I don't know this guy. So I hope this helps you, if anything. People get to hear your story, get to hear who you are, and why voting for city council is so important, and especially for you, because you seem, from this interaction and from what we've talked about, like, you love the city.
100%. No, I mean, again, I have stupid long respect for the Parks Department. Before the Parks Department, I used the parks. I had my first job here, bought my first house here. My parents live here. Again, I've used city resources. I mean, I have nothing bad to say. I just want to make sure it's the best thing. I mean, you've got a house that looks really nice. You want to customize it, personalize it, make sure it's good for a long time. I just want to make sure this house doesn't break down.
Well, once again, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
again, nothing but peace and love. This was awesome. And again, I hope you get the crowd you need, and I hope I get the same thing. But I mean, again, this was a really cool journey, man.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. And, thank you guys for watching and listening.